In this CBT nugget, we're going to step back into compliancy again and take a look at Ediscovery and hold. And the reason we didn't do it earlier is that we had to get through some additional information before we could actually set this up. We needed to know about the RBAC permissions and all that kind of stuff. But now we can do Ediscovery and hold and look at a slightly bigger picture of compliancy and how this works with data loss prevention. Now, you might be looking at the agenda going, wait a minute, we've talked about data loss prevention, DLP. Yeah, we did. We talked about it a while ago. But we talked about it from the perspective of it being a feature, not really the larger concept in compliancy overall, because there's more to data loss prevention than just that DLP feature. Now, we did DLP, and I'll remind you of that because we'll go back and we'll take another look at it again. But we also want to take a look now at Ediscovery, which is searching mailboxes. And then if there's information or items found that we want to make sure don't suddenly go away or get deleted, we're going to want to put them on hold, and we want to look at how these concepts work together. There's a very important piece here for most companies, this whole Ediscovery and hold, and it involves a lot of legal stuff as well. So this is definitely one of those things that as an administrator, you got to be thinking about, planning for, and you have to set some policies right from the ground, right from the ground up, whatever thingy. Yeah, sure. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started with looking at data loss prevention and what these features are, and then I'll show you how to set them up. So let's talk a little bit more about data loss prevention. Not the feature DLP that we were looking at earlier, although I'll show that to you again, but kind of a larger concept that ties into compliancy. Now, data loss prevention in a nutshell is, oh, and you know what, I drew this picture earlier and I did just about as good a job as I'm doing it now. This is supposed to be the scales of justice. Data loss prevention basically means this. We need to prevent data from being removed that might be necessary in an investigation or some other legal proceeding or some other issue. Now, we've already talked about retention tags and things like that that can move or remove email based upon what your compliancy requirements are. But sometimes you're going to need to have a capability of discovering and then retaining emails, even if the user tries to get rid of them. And this is obviously going to be a challenge. And so it's kind of tricky. Here's what we got. I'm going to draw this. This is going to be a search. We're going to be able to do search across all the users' mailboxes. We're going to be able to define the criteria, all kinds of neat things that look at first like it's really cool. And it is really cool. You just may not be the person that should be doing this, and that's where it gets tricky. And I'll show you how in Exchange 2013 they've made it very simple for you to give permissions to someone that has the legal authority or is the auditor that should be running these kind of queries. But let's just pretend that you are the one running the queries, and I'll show you how to do it, so not a big deal. You do a search for something like, and matter of fact, I'm going to demonstrate a search in here. We'll look for like a project code word or something like that. And it returns a list of items. And if it is determined that those list of items might be needed for a future investigation as the investigation continues, you don't want those deleted, so you're going to put those on hold. And what that basically means is that those items cannot be deleted. So let me do my, wasn't this like the old Ghostbusters thing? Dun, 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 dun. Anyways, it's on hold, which means it can't be deleted. You know, the user can't get rid of it, so it's going to be around for the rest of the investigation. Search and hold, we have specific terms for them now in an Exchange 2013, and what it boils down to is we refer to this as in place discovery, Ediscovery. Discovery, and this is in place hold. Now, if you worked with Exchange 2010, did you ever work with litigation hold? Or we used to call it like lit hold in Exchange 2010. Lit hold was very similar to this, but this is a new model and a new way of doing it. We get additional features with the hold capability. The hold capability, we're going to be able to, and you'll see me do this, we're going to be able to select specific types of information that we're looking for, and we're going to be able to set the duration that something is on hold, which makes your life a lot easier. in case you forget to take it off a hold, because this will use up disk space anytime you put something on hold. So we have really two components that we want to focus in on for this, is being able to search for information, and then when we find the information that we need for an investigation, place it on hold. But before I dive into for this, I don't like being the guy that does this myself. But check with your company, your policies and procedures, and how is this supposed to be done at your company. Now, having said that, why don't we dive in and we start to take a look at the features, both in-place Ediscovery and in-place hold. These actually tie together because they're in the same place. So they tie so closely together that we'll start off with Ediscovery. And before we do that, though, I just want to kind of take you to the compliancy section and remind you of the DLP feature we looked at earlier, because you'll see how that combined with this, combined with the other things that we learned about earlier in this course, the retention tag settings, all of that, how it starts to tie together. Let's first start off by going to compliancy management, and I want to remind you of something that I talked about earlier, data loss prevention. Data loss prevention as the feature is what allowed you to, well, here, let me just show you again real quick. Like grab a policy from a template. This is some pre-existing templates that already exist that your company may actually be under. As a requirement that you can use. And when you select one of these, it created transporter rules. Remember we were talking about the transporter rules and all that kind of stuff? That's when we were talking about this, because that's technically how it does it. However, from a slightly larger scope, data loss prevention can be a lot of things. It can prevent linkage. And let me just show you a custom one. And I like to do custom DLP policies. I'm just going to call this Don't Let It Out. And we've gone through most of these settings before. I just want to show you these custom ones. Now, leakage is where you're getting information going out that you really don't want out. There's more to it than just the templates that are in there. You can always make your own. Let me go in here and edit this. And some people, like myself, like to create their own rules. And I'm going to create a rule, and one of the rules that I really like to use is you can do this all from scratch, but I often do this when block messages with sensitive information unless the sender overrides with a business justification. In other words, if they're going to override my blocking their email, that's fine, but they've got to override it and write down why. In other words, when they do that, so therefore it's not my fault. And just let me just kind of show you here. What I'm going to do is I wanted you to see this part of it. Select the sensitive information types that I want to protect. And so what I can do is I could go down here and say, well, let's see here. Let's grab credit card. There it is. I don't want any credit card numbers to go out in the emails. I don't want, oh, I like that one, IP addresses to go out. So you kind of get the idea, right? This is going to prevent this kind of information from leaking out to people who shouldn't have it. And, oh, social security numbers, that's pretty good. So this is one way of looking at data loss prevention from the leakage standpoint of preventing it from getting out. But there's another aspect to data loss prevention, and that's preventing the data from being lost. And so let me show you that here, where that's going to be. Let me just kind of close all of this, because we've done DLP before. Here's the fun part. In place, Ediscovery, and hold. And this is where you can discover emails by searching all the mailboxes or individual mailboxes, and then if you choose, you can then decide to place it on hold so it can't be deleted. And I'm going to give you all the technical aspects as we go through setting this up, but I want you to do me a favor right now. Take a look right here. Yes, do this favor for me. Note how many icons I have. I have 4. That's a strong indication of something that is very important. You don't have permissions for this. You don't have, as a matter of fact, if I hit the plus sign and started going through this, I would quickly find out I can't do anything. No one gets permissions to this by default, and that's an important statement in and of itself. You need to decide who has the authority to do discovery and hold, and that is something that's probably you're going to have to check with the company, the legal team, all of that stuff to figure out who's allowed to do this. And I pray that it's never me, because I don't want to be a person in the middle of this. Think about what a rogue administrator or somebody that has this authority could do. They could be searching for, confidential information that they're not supposed to be seeing. That's not cool. So this has to be done by somebody that's trusted, that has a legitimate business reason for doing this. And so nobody gets permissions for it. Well, we need to fix that, right? So see this here, permissions tab? Well, let me show you how to assign permissions for the Ediscovery and hold. Keep in mind that what I'm about to do is going to get audited. Remember, if you look a little bit back there, we just had done the audit logging stuff. This is going to get audited because there's going to be a change to one of our role groups. And I want you to kind of see, we have a couple of options here. First of all, the role group that has the management roles that give you the permissions to do the e-discovery search and to be able to put things on hold is called Discovery Management. So let me just go in here and show you. If you take a look, it gives you a brief explanation of what this does. And look at the roles down here. There are two roles in particular that we're interested in. This is kind of important. Legal hold, that's what gives you the ability to do legal hold. And mailbox search is what gives you the ability to do the searching. Now, in some cases, you may have a situation where you have somebody that's allowed to do the search, but they're not allowed to put things on hold, or vice versa. They're allowed to put things on hold. So you can create your own role groups and then add these particular management roles in there. So if I had somebody that they're allowed to search, but they're not allowed to put on hold, I'd create a role group for them and add in the role mailbox search. Usually, though, these go kind of hand in hand because they're used for investigations, right? So you're going to want to normally to have both permissions. I want you to notice here at the bottom who's a member of this particular role group, and you'll see no one. And I like it to be this way until there's a requirement for an investigation. I get the email that'll say, make so-and-so, capable of doing e-discovery. Okay, I'll go in there, I'll say plus, and I will add them in. Here's the thing I never want to do. See, it says administrator, right? If it has my name on it or administrator, I don't want to be the guy, but in order to demonstrate it, or if you want to use it on, like a practice VM, this is a great way to do it. So I'm going to add myself in here. I'm going to maximize this so I can click OK. So now I'm added to this group of discovery management, which means I'll get permissions for this. And here's how you check. Now, it can be a little bit tricky here. Let's go over here real quick. Here's how you know. See, I just added myself for permissions. Let's go back to compliancy management and hit, let me kind of flip between them here. Oh, now see, I only still see 4 icons. Now, usually what that means is that you have to sign out and sign back in. Now, you could wait a while and it'll just happen, but it's quicker if you sign out and sign back in. So let me do that and we'll come back in here. So I just signed back in after giving myself permissions to the, oh man, I don't even like saying this phrase, giving myself permissions to the discovery management group. Let's go into compliancy management and see what's happened to my icons. So in place discovery, oh, looky, much more than 4. You have to have permissions to have all the fun stuff for the e-discovery and hold. So first important thing, you got to assign permissions for it. Now, of course, everything I'm showing you, you can also do through PowerShell. It's just, if you did this in Exchange 2010, like a lot of the litigation hold and all that had to be done through PowerShell. Now we've got the graphical that helps us out quite a bit with this. It's really kind of nice. Now, as you can imagine, what I'm going to need to do here is hit the plus sign, but here's what my goal is. We're going to create a search. And this search is going to run and then see if there's any results. Now, you're going to see a lot of things here as I create this search. So what do you say we just go ahead and start to do it? So I'm going to bring it up here. First thing you need to do, and I'll maximize this screen, is give the search a name. And I'm going to call this Looking for Confidential. Now, in this case, let's just pretend for a second that I'm I've been instructed that there is some concern that possibly people are, sending out confidential data. So find all emails that use the word confidential. So I'm going to say next. Now, here's one of the interesting things. I want you to notice you can search all mailboxes, or you can specify individual ones to search. So if you're doing a general search like I'm doing right now, I just want to find any emails where the word confidential was used. I'm going to say search all mailboxes. But if for some reason there's an investigation on a particular person or group of people, you can specify just those mailboxes to look in. Now, there's other reasons to do e-discovery besides legal and investigations. There's plenty of good solid reasons, like maybe you're looking for some data on a project. So there are scary reasons for doing this. So you could use this in a variety of ways. Maybe you know that 5 people used to work on a project and you're looking for that particular information. So it's very useful. So I'm going to hit next. I'm going to do all mailboxes right now. And now what query? Now be careful with this. Include all user mailbox content. Yeah, I don't like that for all email boxes because imagine what that's going to do, right? It's going to give you everybody's email. In this case, I'm going to filter it. Now, it gives you some useful help over here on how you can write filters. And it's actually very simple. I want to look for just one word right now. It's called confidential. But if I wanted to look for 2 words, confidential or secret, see, you can use, and it explains it over here, you can use and or. And you can even create little expressions with this as well. So you can make this filter very, very complicated, and you probably do. Searching for the word confidential over everybody's email in real life is probably not the brightest idea because that's going to take a long time and probably return a lot of results. But you can also specify start and end dates to do it for, and who's it from, who was it going to. And here's one of my favorite features is doing it by message type. Now by default it's set up for all types, but you can go in here and select that it's doing it for specific types of things like emails, meetings, tasks, notes, anything that's inside of Exchange. Now I'm going to leave this one right now for all types, but you get the idea. So I'm going to click next. Now I want you to notice right here is the in-place hold settings. This is when the search runs if I want to put it on hold. And I'm going to come back to this in a little bit because I want you to notice right now it's grayed out. I can't select it. The reason I can't select it is because I said search all mailboxes. What you have to do is you have to tell us whose stuff and what mailbox do you want to place on hold. So I'm just doing kind of a general query right now. It's going to save this and it's going to run the search. And depending upon how much mail it has to go through, that kind of stuff, the search may take a while. So you have a tendency to get really good with this refresh button. And you can hit refresh. And you also, of course my screen resolution makes this a little bit harder to read, but I'm going to go down here and scroll through the properties. Says it succeeded, ran by administrator, gives you the time that it ran, gives you the size of the information found, how many, there were 2 items found. Oh, what do you say we go take a look at, and you can get keyword statistics as well, but what do you say it found 2 things? There were 2 places where people said confidential. So let's see how to get a report out of this. Over here where that magnifying glass looking search thingy is, go down here and say preview search results. So when I preview the search results, and by the way, sometimes before this preview comes up, if you're not already signed into OWA, you may have to sign into OWA and then click preview the results again. And it'll come up and it'll show you the results, and we'll examine these in just a minute because there's something weird going on. These results are stored in a special mailbox called a Discovery Search mailbox. Now by default there's only one of these created, and here in a few moments I'll show you how to create an additional mailbox for that. You can just do new mailbox to create it, but I'll show it to you. So you can have additional ones that you give to different people, that have different permissions to see the results of the search. And so here's a great example of where I ran this search, confidential, and look what we found. Look at what we found. Hey man, I think this is confidential. Really? What are we talking about over here? Oh, code name for the new project is ping pong. Well, this might inspire your search a little bit further during an investigation. I did this general search, but you know what? I think now I'd like to refine this search. It seems to me that Bob is talking about this code, this ping pong project. So I tell you what, why don't we look at Bob's mailbox and see what's been going on with that. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to change the search. What a perfect time to find the edit button to change my search. So here's the edit button. I'm going to go into it, and notice that once you've created something, you can go to sources. Here's what I'd like to do. I'm not going to search all my email boxes right now. I'm just going to go to Bob's. Dun, da, da, dun, da, dun, da, da. Yeah, pick it on Bob. And let me go ahead and maximize this so I can save it. And search query. I want to change my search query. I know that I want to see if Bob's talking about ping pong, because nobody's supposed to know about ping pong. And I'm just going to save it. Now again, you could modify the other criteria to whatever you want. And I also want you to notice that, let me save that. And I'll come back and show you the in-place hold. So I'm going to say close. And this is kind of how things work, normally in life. You start out with this general kind of search. You may, during the investigation, then you may want to narrow the search down. I'm going to check, make sure that it's run. And according to this, 3 items were found in Bob's email box. Well, we'll do that whole preview thing again. And here we go. Bob and Andy. Oh, it's Bob and Andy that have been talking about this. Okay. Well, at least I know who to go to. So you can see I've narrowed down the search. Now, I found these emails, and it looks to me like, see, Bob sent it out yesterday. I heard about the new code name, and Andy says, dude, that's confidential, so don't tell anybody. Oh, and then it looks like Bob went out and told some other people about ping pong. Okay, well, here's what I need to do. I need to make sure that this doesn't get deleted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to modify this again, edit it, and here's in place hold. And when I put it, place content matching the criteria on hold. Hold indefinitely means, well, exactly what it said. It's going to hold as long as indefinitely. Make sure that you think about and document that you have this hold turned on, because you have to go in and turn it off at some point. Think about the amount of data that's being stored for this. If you put an entire mailbox or several mailboxes, the entire contents on hold, that's going to take up a lot of additional disk space. So, those are some of the things to keep in mind. The other cool thing about putting stuff on hold is, do you remember when we were doing the MRM stuff, all the retention tags and that? This will stop those retention tags from deleting email as well. You can also now, and this is new to in-place hold in Exchange 2013, is specify the number of days to hold items. So, you've got this duration that you can set it for, you have the hold with. So I'm going to hold this and hold indefinitely. I'm going to maximize it so I can click save. And it'll go out and it'll save that, and life is good. Now, a couple of other things to kind of note here is when users delete things that you may have put on hold, normally that goes to recoverable items folder and into a deletion subfolder. If somehow the user manages to delete it from there, it doesn't get removed. The user cannot delete this. It goes to a purges subfolder underneath your recoverable items, and an administrator can actually go in there and get it. So, and we can set up quotas, all that kind of stuff on that. So here is that search. It's on hold, so I can now turn that information over. Oh, how do you turn that information over? Well, a couple of ways. One, I can copy the search results, and notice I can send these search results to a specific, notice what it says, Discovery mailbox. Because I think it's a good time for me to show you how to make a Discovery mailbox that possibly an auditor or lawyer might go through, and you want to give them permissions to it. You can dedupe it if you want, give it full logging, all that kind of stuff, notify you when it's complete. But when you click Browse, I want you to see this. This is the default Discovery search mailbox I was telling you about. You can create some other ones. Now, you can't do it graphically, though. Let me show you how we could create one. Let me close him. Let me go ahead and close him. Let me show you how we can create one with PowerShell. So in the Exchange Management Shell here, you can do new mailbox, and let me show you and you make a mailbox. Oh, why am I not typing? Why am I not typing? Oh, here we go. New mailbox. Oh, good, typing. And you can give it a name, and I'll call it legal search, whatever you want to call it. And what you want is the switch parameter discovery, and that'll make it as a special discovery mailbox. And that's all there really is to it. Now, once you do that and you make it, you're going to want to add permissions to it. So you can, wow, my brain just shut down. You can add mailbox permissions, box permissions to that mailbox. So it'd be like add mailbox, whatever you called the mailbox, legal search, and tell me what user you want to add in and what the access rights are going to be. Full access. And so that's all you got to do. And then you can copy content. So let me go ahead and get rid of this. You can then go here and copy the search results to that new mailbox, and only the people you've given permissions to can now go through and look at it. There's something else that you can do, and that's this guy right here, the little down arrow, export to a BST. Very similar features. Let me click on him here. So you can specify the location where you want to store it. You can dedupe it and start, and it'll export out that search information. So here's what we managed to do so far. We've managed to do a little in-place discovery, a little searching through the emails, and then we can put them on hold if we would like. So pretty cool, huh? Yeah, I think it's pretty cool too. And like I was saying, that there's a huge ramification around this of all of the legal and things tied up here. So you know, that's one aspect to it is, you know, what's your corporate compliancy? You know, how does this affect, you know, legal investigations, things like that, things that scare me, that I just want to be the guy that gives somebody permissions to be able to do this. I don't want to be the guy actually doing it. But there's also great business uses for this, where you can do searches for, like I was saying, for like a product or a project or something that people were working on that you need to kind of data mine with this. Well, there's also a couple of other things that are really cool about this, and we'll kind of do that on the summary screen. It doesn't seem like much, but planning for data loss prevention is actually bigger than what originally we had started out when we were just doing DLP, the feature. And it's very important with this Ediscovery and litigation hold, or what we just call the in-place hold now, you know, is an important component of being able to search and keep information for investigations and for other things too, besides all of this legal stuff. Now, it does make me nervous anytime that I have to do a search because of the information that can be found. So again, make sure what your corporate compliancy rules are and how you're affected by all of this. But there's also some really serious data mining that can be done in a very similar fashion with eDiscovery if you are tied into SharePoint as well. Do you work with SharePoint? I'm just going to put SP, SharePoint. So you can actually integrate Exchange and SharePoint and use SharePoint's eDiscovery. Now that means that using SharePoint's eDiscovery, you're searching all of what's in SharePoint plus what's in the mail. And so a lot of companies like to integrate it from that side. But you know, Exchange has a pretty cool way of integrating it too if you don't have SharePoint, or you know, you're not up for integrating it yet, and can be used in a lot of variety ways. Also, I want to point out something. This is the built-in eDiscovery. And hold. There are a lot of third parties that offer, you know, like when we were talking about archiving, there's a lot of third parties that offer this same kind of concept and give you a lot of flexibility and features as well, and can also make it a little bit more flexible for doing non-investigative searches. So you might look into some of those third party options, but I got to tell you, what's built in is pretty great, and it certainly helps me with my overall concept of data loss prevention. And you know, it's definitely something that as the Exchange admin, you got to know how to turn it on, and then you got to know how to show somebody how to do the search. So it's good to have a VM around so you can show them on that. So anyways, I hope this video has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.